Welcome back to a very, very special episode of the New Game Plus podcast. As all of you, I'm sure, are aware, Silksong is now out, and unfortunately, John has not played it. So he has been exiled to behind the camera for this very special episode. that is his very manly thumb you just saw. And I'm going to give my review / I beat Silksong obviously, but we're gonna do some running around as Hornet and some post-game stuff and talk about the newest masterpiece from Team Cherry. All right, let's get into it. All right, so if you are not a Hollow Knight super fan like I am, you may not know this, but Silksong was the #1 most wanted game on Steam for over 7 years since it was first announced as a standalone game. It was originally just supposed to be a DLC add-on to the original Hollow Knight, and they just kept adding more and more and more to it until it became its own game and kind of stealth dropped, which we've talked about before here in the store. It was kind of almost vaporware for a long time, and then there was that Nintendo Direct where they talked about the Switch 2. There was about 3 seconds of Silksong gameplay in there, and then just, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, they were like, yeah, it's coming out on the 4th. So that was last week, and I've had my time to play through the game, and it's I've also seen a lot of the back and forth people talking on the internet. Some of it I think is valid complaints about the difficulty, and some of it is just sort of the you need to get good sort of thing as far as I'm concerned. One thing I really don't like about this game is the save points are benches. They're like your fire places in Dark Souls, stuff like that. Almost every single one of them in this game costs money. So you can be playing through a difficult level and get to a new bench, and you have no money, no health, nothing, and you're just kind of screwed from there. Which personally I think is pretty horrible game design. Let us know what you think in the comments about that one, but that's my major gripe. Another major gripe people have been having is the damage, which I feel like there is definitely a problem with the whole difficulty curve of this game. It does go from fairly easy in the very beginning to it gets pretty hard, pretty tough, and then by the end of it, it actually doesn't feel that hard as far as the your standard sort of levels. The post-game stuff, after you get the first ending, obviously I feel like that's also is pretty tough to get through. So I'm just gonna try to get my corpse back here. Yeah, like these little alligator things, they bite you, you're gonna lose. So you lose 2 masks right away. So it's kind of a strange decision to have basically everything in the game do double damage, because why do you have 6 or 7 health when it really means you have 3 health? It's kind of a strange sort of thing. But yeah, I've beaten the game. I felt, other than those few things I've talked about, pretty well balanced. Basically, if they were able to somehow smooth out the difficulty curve on this game, I would call it, another masterpiece, which is pretty good from Team Cherry. They're batting, 100 as far as I'm concerned. So. Man. If you guys saw our last Let's Play, John and I talked about how hard it is to talk and play games at the same time, and this game is one that is not making it any easier. I promise I'm much better at this game when I'm not trying to, think of a good review to give you on it. The story is another thing that's kind of weird. I'm sure that more of it unlocks as you go, and the deep lore that Hollow Knight's known for, more and more of that's going to unlock. But basically, the story of this game is you get kidnapped from apparently where you were in the first game, and the person who kidnapped you lives at the top of this tower, and they just tell you go up. It's kind of like in Dark Souls 2, you fall into a lake, and they tell you go look for the king. Like, it's not, there's nothing like, oh... Hollow Knight was sort of vague in the beginning, but you kind of got the idea of what the game was supposed to be about. And this game, they're kind of just like, yeah, keep going up towards the top, and you'll fight the boss, and that's it. So I do like that it's split up into acts. So your first act is sort of your intro, second act is getting through the ending, and then I'm sure, well, I've looked it up, there is an Act 3, which is where you get into your other endings to the game. Hollow Knight was pretty famous for having a bad ending, quote unquote, and then I think 2 or 3 additional endings. Depends on the DLC. I don't remember how many it came out with, but there's definitely multiple endings, and they get better as you get more of a percentage completed. But it's kind of weird when you beat the game, it doesn't tell you what percent you've done, so I don't really know how far I've gotten. I'm sure that there's entire areas at this point that I haven't found because I more or less just played through the beginning of the game and got to the end and beat it. But most of the side stuff, like this place here, Sinner's Road, I haven't really looked into too much. So as you can see, I only have, I can't even count, 6 masks. I've only upgraded my health once at this point, and I'm assuming you get a lot more than that before you max everything. Yeah, this is really hard to fight this guy and talk at the same time. I did not think this through. But they did improve a lot on some of the things in Hollow Knight, like the crest system, if you're familiar, kind of just, you would get like a crest and it would make your weapon attack longer or something else like that. The way that Silksong works is you have tools, which are split into 3 different categories. So you have your offensive tools, which are these ones here that I've unlocked, the red ones. So in my build out, I can equip 2 of them. You have your defensive, which is blue. Again, I can do 2 blue. And then you also have your utility, which is your yellow. But in addition to that, you can change your crest. So Reaper is going to be different than what you start with. You start with the Hunter's Crest. So that's going to be the moveset for Hornet from Hollow Knight 1. Reaper is modified. It's going to have, it's more of like a counterattack, longer range sort of thing. Wanderer is actually the moveset from Hollow Knight 1. So we can actually show you guys these real quick since this bench is right here. So as you can see from the real thing, you can notice it is with the down attacks. So it's going to be a 45-degree down attack, which is her default sort of way of doing things as Hornet. And then we'll show you the Hollow Knight one that I'm sure you're familiar with. But I feel like that's a really cool addition for them to make. So not only do you get these little sort of things, which like, this one will do lava damage, stuff like that, kind of like the old crest, but you can also change how your attacks work out. Now you can see this is extremely familiar if you played the first game, but the downside obviously is that you can't really reach very far. So Personally, I did most of the game as Reaper. I like this build out. When you heal, you also get additional Silk, which is your little thing in the top left there. That's your magic counter. That little number that just went down, that was from using my tools. They're called shards. When you use your tools, that red circle is going to deplete, and you don't get them back until you rest at a bench. You need the shards to actually get it back. So that's, you know, more or less the major changes to the game. And then, you know, it's an entirely new setting, entirely new enemies. I thought that they would reuse a lot more than they did, but it doesn't really feel like it. Like, a lot of the movesets feel newer. There's a lot, you know, new sprites, everything else like that. So it's pretty cool as far as that goes. Movement is much quicker as Hornet compared to the Knight. If you played the first one, you move like you're basically on crack, which is part of, I think, the difficulty. Is a lot of people are trying to play this game like it's Hollow Knight when you have all this different stuff. Like, you can, like, legit, you can heal when you get hit. You can heal in midair in this game. Where in Hollow Knight, you're on the ground, you're stuck, you know, you're vulnerable. Hit me. So I can wall jump up here. I need enough to heal. There we go. So, yeah, midair heal. So that's quite a huge advantage that you get. So, yeah, I really think most people need to just play the game and get good. It's not the kind of game, and I don't even think Hollow Knight was either. I'm sure that most of you who played through and gotten at least one alternate ending to Hollow Knight would say that it was fairly difficult to get there, especially if you did 100%. You did Path of Pain and all that. That was some crazy platforming that I'm not a big platformer person. I'm more into it for the combat, but that was pretty hard. There is one area in this game where you get the double jump, which is, I mean, I felt like, and it wouldn't be an episode if we didn't bring up this game, but it's definitely Celeste callback. You're on this snowy mountain, and you're doing a lot of crazy platforming. The annoying thing is that you die from the cold, so you're very time limited in addition to everything else when you're trying to unlock the double jump towards the end of the game. So, now let me try to beat this boss so you can have some decent footage of somebody playing instead of me looking like an absolute scrub just running around talking. Or maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. Honestly, I played the original on the Switch 1 and the PS4, and I don't notice a difference. I mean, it's kind of hard to, given the graphical style of the game. It is, you know, a very basic sort of 2D. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not going to be pushing anyone's system to the limits. Wow. Keep in mind, the screen I'm playing on is smaller than the Switch 2 screen handheld. It is the great test TV that we use here at New Game Plus. This blocks out the entire view, so that's what we're dealing with here. So we just thought it would be fun to do something new and modern, try to you know, get some conversation going about something new that I'm sure, because so many conversations I've had with people in the shop about how Hollow Knight is one of their favorite games, and it's certainly one of my favorite games. I'm sure some of you out there are not huge fans. I know John played it, and I'm sure he loved it. It's maybe not as much as I did, but...
I actually never beat it.
You didn't beat it?
It's too hard.
Really?
Yeah. It's too hard for me, and that's saying something.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of... I don't understand that part of the discourse that's been going on. Maybe I should go to this bench since it's here and I keep running past it and dying. I don't understand why people, because the original game was hard. Like, I'm not making that up. Like, it was a difficult game. Is it as hard? I don't think so, but I say as a normal enemy just absolutely wrecks me. Alright, I got him. But yeah, Hollow Knight is not a joke of a game. So I don't know why people went into this game expecting it to be like, oh, this is going to be so easy or it's not going to be difficult. Like, I figured it would be a pretty difficult game from the jump.
Which of the two do you like better? Or is that not really correct?
That's hard. I feel like there's a lot of charm to the original Hollow Knight that this game doesn't have. And funny, when I first started playing it, because it was one of your big complaints when we originally talked about Hollow Knight, was how open the beginning of the game was, and how the game doesn't really give you any sort of insight to how you're supposed to, you know, move through and get to the next area or whatnot. This game did not have that problem. They'll tell you exactly where to go. And for me, it kind of, I didn't like that. I really dug how mysterious Hollow Knight felt from start to finish. Like, you're a nobody from nowhere. Like, nobody even the developers don't even know where this guy came from. Or, you know, this little knight guy. He just sort of shows up, things are messed up, and you learn from there. Like, this one is kind of, like I mentioned earlier, like, the story in a way is similar, but it just doesn't feel the same sort of mystery behind everything. Like, in this, you know you're going to get answers if you just keep, you know, going and playing and progressing. But Hollow Knight being a new game when it came out, and, you know, there wasn't really any precedent for how they would tell the story before. Like, it just felt so cool to, like, eventually unlock, you know, and figure out, oh, this is where the knight came from, this is why the Hollow Knight is failing, all this other cool stuff. But I feel like a lot of the cooler lore stuff is going to end up being in that third secret act. Because as you're getting towards the very end of the game, what am I doing? It starts to get pretty cool as far as that sort of stuff goes, but right at the beginning, it's just sort of go beat stuff up, have fun, die a million times to the boss, and don't really know why. So. But gameplay-wise, I haven't even scratched the surface of, like, the customization, the different builds and everything that are available in this. I haven't unlocked everything, and already there's way more that you can do, way more different styles that you can play through the game as, which is, I think, are really, really cool. I feel like it's going to be one of those things where Hollow Knight's always going to feel like awesome and have this place in my heart, but I'm going to pick it up and play it, and I'll be like, wait, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? You know, like, I can't do this. Why not? Like, I'll be too used to it from playing through this. No, I got the first ending. So, just like in Hollow Knight 1, Hollow Knight, it tells you your percentage done. And I think I did about 40% of the game when I beat it the first time. And then you have to, you know, keep playing through it to get the 100% and the true ending. So I'm assuming it's the same formula. Broad strokes, this game is very similar to Hollow Knight. So you're not going to be surprised if you think, oh, if I do X, Y, Z, I'm going to end up with this. It's like, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. It's, you know, it's reading from the same, you know, playbook. So there's at least going to be one other ending, and I'm sure I'm going to have to do. I'm guessing it's all these wishes that you see pop up from these guys. So this wasn't in the first game, but there's all these little quests that'll pop up when you talk to NPCs, and they'll ask you to do X, Y, Z, give me 10 of these, or deliver me this, or whatnot. And I'm assuming doing these will unlock that third act and the true ending. Because basically the true ending in Hollow Knight, you had to more or less do everything you possibly could on the map. So I'm guessing it's going to be basically the same thing.
Didn't you like beat the shit out of the original Hollow Knight? Like, didn't you do like 100% of that game?
Yeah, I think it was 114 or something with the DLC that it got up to. But yeah, I did basically everything you could possibly do in the original Hollow Knight. So, and I feel like I'll probably end up doing that in this game as well. Oh, it's back to this boss that I somehow keep subconsciously running into without even trying. Yeah, I feel like I will definitely be playing this one for a lot longer than it took just to get to the credits the first time. Like, if it wasn't for just these slight minor hiccups, I feel like, in the overall difficulty curve, I would say that it's in almost every way an improvement over Hollow Knight. The one thing for me, and obviously this is going to change based on the individual, is I felt like all the truly difficult stuff came post-game, like after you got that first ending. And in this one, it's definitely not like that. I mentioned the whole double jump fiasco, which is what I think of it in my head. And then there's these arena rooms where you have to fight a bunch of enemies at once. One of them right at the end of the game is harder than the last two bosses in the story. And it's like, that shouldn't be that hard for where it is. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And it's just not as interesting as fighting a boss. You're basically fighting a gauntlet of 20 plus enemies over and over again for no reason. Like, it felt bad. But yeah. And part of me actually thinks, like, I don't think they could have gotten the reception that Hollow Knight originally did just because Hollow Knight exists. Like, I don't think that they hit the nail on the head with Hollow Knight, but I feel like, one, nobody had played that sort of game before, and it was just so charming, and it did so much right that we were willing to overlook a lot of the stuff that's actually not perfect in that game. Like I just mentioned, the whole intro where you have no idea where you're supposed to go. Obviously, they felt like that was an issue because they changed it with the second one. But all in all, I feel like this game it's absolutely incredible. The music, the gameplay, just running through the world and fighting the monsters feels fun. It's engaging. The characters are good. The map person's not as cool. I miss the dude who used to hum. That guy was the man. But other than that, personally, top tier game. I'll be playing it for a while until I finally unlock everything and run out of stuff to do and complain about no good video games being made anymore, even though this just came out. So that's my long and short of it.
What would you say on, like, yeah, I know you and I talked on, like, a scale of, like, 1 to 5, and being, like, excellent, and 2.5 being, like, mediocre, 3 being good, 3 being, you know, awesome.
Yeah.
Like, on a scale of, like, 1 to 5, 0 to 5, what would you say? The original and then
That's tough. Oh, man, especially 5. I mean, the original, just because I love it so much, is going to be like a 5 out of 5 game for me. But I don't think a 5 out of 5 game has to be perfect. I think it just has to do so much right that you overlook the things that it does wrong. Like, you're willing to put up with the crappy beginning because the end is so much cooler. Given how long it's taken for this game to come out, I'd have to give it slightly less just because it's, you know, you've done it before. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, this is your first time making a video game. You've made Hollow Knight, which is one of the modern classics of, you know, it's basically the indie game at this point. Probably like a 4.7, 4.8 is how I would say Silksong is. And the major reasons for that are I feel like the difficulty curve could have been smoothed out a lot better than it is. There's definitely some big bumps. And judging from the patch notes that I've read and what they're nerfing the wrong things, which is strange. And the whole paying for benches. Like, the whole paying for benches thing is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my entire gaming career. Like, the point of a checkpoint is that the player has had enough skill to at least progress to that point, and they deserve that reward. That doesn't mean you can't subvert it and every once in a while have one blow up or be fake or whatever. But every single time in this game, it feels like you have to have at least 60 prayer beads in order to save. And if you're going through the game and you just died and lost your corpse and you finally progress just a little bit more, it feels horrible. Now, there is a system where for it's like a 20% tax, you can save them permanently and then break them and use them so that you can basically hold them all the time. But that just feels tedious and trivial to go back to the NPC, do that, go back to where you were. Like, don't add trivial bullshit to your game. Just either give me the bench or, if you're going to make the currency work that way, make it work that way permanently. Don't make it drop when I die. Like, none of that, the whole thing, that's just strange to me to have it set up that way. But yeah, other than that, I love this game. I think it's a lot of fun. Art direction's great. The voice acting is hilarious, even though it's a bunch of bugs just spouting nonsense and Animal Crossing talk. Music, environmental design, just beating on things is fun, even though I've been playing horribly while trying to talk and game at the same time. All the streamers out there who, people say you just sit on your couch and do nothing. I will admit, you have a skill. You have a skill, and that is talking and playing a game at the same time and not going insane, because I'm going to get my ass kicked again right here, and I'm going to lose my train of thought in like 4 seconds. So. All right, guys, so that was my horrible gameplay and just meandering review of Hollow Knight Silksong by Team Cherry. I like it. I like it a lot. John will be rejoining me next podcast. Our Halloween special is coming up. We're going to be talking about spooky horror games. So if you're a scaredy cat, don't tune in. But everybody else, this is the New Game Plus podcast, the best gaming podcast in Kingston, New Hampshire, filmed live at New Game Plus, Kingston, New Hampshire, 160 Main Street, Unit D. Stop by, talk about games, maybe buy a few, play a few, whatever you want to do. Talk to you soon.